Hello everyone, Rabbi Jacobson here. I'm here to speak about what to do with your life. And let me begin first with dedication. It's dedicated in honor of David Emmanuel Klempner, David ben Mordechai, on the occasion of his 12th birthday. May he be inspired to perform more mitzvahs with each passing year and grow up to be a real mensch. If you want to dedicate a future class, you can easily do that online or email us. I'd be honored to do so. All the information can be found online at meaningfullife.com. So what to do with your life? It's a good question, and that's what we'll be addressing. It's a question, firstly, that you hear often from young people. They wake up every morning, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do with my life? So when there's the structure of a school, structure of a summer camp, or other type of structures, obviously the structure itself compels them, even though they may not like it, but it compels them to fit into some type of context. However, when you really ask people what's in their heart, they say, I'm bored. What am I going to do with my life? So we usually distract ourselves with the temporary different fixes, whether it's sports or different types of entertainment or things that may be healthy, some things are not healthy. That's the gist of it all. What am I going to do with my life? And young people, this is constantly on their minds. And imagine if we could really answer that question for them in a way that would be meaningful and personal. Imagine what kind of trajectory their lives would take, how different it would be, rather than just living by circumstances, reacting to circumstances, to be proactive. Now the question really is for all of us. Just imagine for a moment that if you were freed of your responsibilities and of your activities, whether they're real, whether they're necessary or not, let's not get into that right now. What would you be choosing for your life? What would be your 3 top priorities? Just for a moment, imagine that scenario. Would you even know how to find that answer? And then when you do find an answer, the next question is, so what's stopping you from living up to your dreams and living up to the things what you should be doing with your life? What are the obstacles, real or imagined? That's what we'll be addressing, a very fundamental question. In many ways, one of those questions that we never really talk about directly, maybe indirectly, we say we're bored and so on. But let's talk about it in a very blunt and candid fashion, is what do you do with your life? What to do with your life? So I'll focus it in the context, of course, something that those of you familiar with my teachings and thoughts in writing and in the classes probably identify with all of this. And that is, number one, the question really has to always begin from the beginning. It's a sense of purpose. To answer what to do with your life, you first have to know what is life. Like someone say, what to do with a computer. So a computer has all kinds of different things you can do with it. But you can't drive a computer, for example. It's not an automobile. It's also not a refrigerator. It's not an air conditioner. So the first thing you have to do is identify the item that we're talking about. Then you can say what to do with it. And that, I think, is the bigger question. What is life? Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? If we could answer that question, then you can answer what to do with it. And I believe that's really the question that most of us really mean when we do ask that question or when we think about that question. What is life? And that's something we're not taught very often. If you go to school, the best schools, what they teach you is, they teach you how to develop good tools to make money, to survive, to thrive, but all on a very basic level of existence. There are very few schools, if there are any, I would love to hear about it, that talk to you about what is life and what is the purpose of your life. Some are afraid to go there in the first place because it sounds religious or it sounds too theological, and therefore in our liberal society you have to let people decide that on their own. Others don't go there simply by default because they don't know what to say. So we have so-called schools of philosophy, where we study different thinking about these matters. But I'm talking about on a very personal gut level, on a personal ground level. What does it mean? What is life, and therefore what to do with your life? When I was writing the description of this class, I was thinking about this on different levels, and it came to me something that I hear from many people. I just wanted to share that with you, that when they talk about different issues and problems, they very rarely talk about the root of an issue. It's often about the symptoms. like things are not working, or I'm bored, or I don't know what to drive me, I don't know what to focus on. As soon as you're in that type of place, essentially think of it like you're somewhere out at sea, lost at sea, and you're saying, what should I do now? Now, we don't think of it like a sea because we live on land, and on land, if we breathe, and thank God we're healthy, we don't feel that we're on a precipice or in some type of situation where you have to sink or swim. But the truth is, it's wherever you are, whether you're at sea, on land, land is also being at sea. It's true, you may not physically sink, but spiritually and psychologically and emotionally, if you don't have direction, what do you think you're doing? You're really wandering. And because we have so many distractions and so many things that keep us busy, we can get away with it. So what I'm going to be speaking now is I'm going to be on several multi-levels. Obviously, we have to speak to adults who are already in the rat race or on the merry-go-round or on the roller coaster of life, however you want to define it, and they can't just stop everything. But we also have to speak to the young people, to people who, give me a moment, we may have a technological issue here. No, it doesn't look like it. We have to also speak to young people who have all their options before them. People who are not yet stuck or not yet jaded or not yet in any type of locked situation where they can make choices. And of course, the younger you can begin, the better it is. Because the younger you begin, the easier it is to be able to set a tone and set the stage. Like anything, you want to build a good foundation. Imagine your building is standing already and then you find out the foundation is not there or weak or in some way shaky. What do you do then? It's not that simple. You can't. What are you going to do? Throw down the whole building and build a foundation? So the earlier you can build this foundation, the more powerful we are. And give me a moment here. Okay, my friends. So, as I was saying, the key thing is to begin from the place which is the most important thing of all, and that is from the foundation. But as I said, I'll talk about it on both levels because we really have to address it in every possible way. Okay. So with that said, let's begin with, as I said, what is life? Now, there are many definitions to what life is, and many different people interpreting it all different ways. But I will give an approach that life is driven by mission. We're not randomly here by accident. I'm not going to go and make a whole case for that right now. My point that I want to make is that we're not randomly here. We have purpose and design. So like anything with purpose and design, the question that has to be asked is, what is the purpose of our lives? And not just in general, but what is the purpose of your particular life that fits to your particular calling? Which brings, of course, to this famous rule that in Business 101, the first thing you need to know is a mission statement. The purpose, as the mystics put it, is that your soul was sent to this world, into a body, into a family, into a physical world, to transform your corner of the world and make it better than it was before you. The object, the experience, the project, on track to fulfill what it was initially conceived of to do. And that's the question we have to ask ourselves and our children from the youngest of age. And I'm going to begin from the youngest because it's the easiest. Imagine every day telling your child, from the newest, from newborn, that you are sent here, you're a gift. Thank you for coming to this world. I am, as your parent, like a gardener of a garden. I'm not here to create anything. I'm here to help you find out what your skills are, what your unique talents are, so you can illuminate the corner of your world, the section of your world, whatever that may be, in the most powerful way, in a proactive way. That is the single most important thing of all. Everything follows from there. So when someone says, what to do with your life, if your life has that purpose, that's the first thing you need to do. Find out what that purpose is and go on that journey. Begin a journey. A journey has a destination. A journey has a direction to get to that destination. That's the single most important thing. In specific terms, it means that each of us has our spiritual calling. It's never a material calling. It's not about making money. It's not about being happy. It's not about having all the delights and the pleasures and the luxuries of this world. Those are all tools. That's your tool chest. What are you going to use the tools for is the purpose of your life, which means getting to know yourself, getting to know your own personality, getting to know the opportunities. I always speak about POPP, personality, opportunities, people, places, what your personality is like, what your opportunities that you have that are unique to you. Some people have a personality that's more cerebral. Some are more emotional. Some are people. Some are introverts. Some are good researchers. Some are very good organizers. Some are very good with numbers. And it could be a combination of the above. Go find those elements. Find the opportunities that you have unique to you that others do not have. You have people you know. You have places you've been to or are at where you live or travel to. And then find that passion. Connect your unique elements in your life with your passion and with a cause that's more than just your own survival. And then you find yourself, your calling, your mission. This may take time, but if we begin early, you're building the foundation. You know, everyone knows the story, the analogy, if you wish. The teacher was giving a class in time management. So to make a demonstration, he comes into the class with a whole crew, sets up a big aquarium, empty aquarium, middle of the front of the class, middle of the room, and pulls out the first thing, big sacks of big boulders. He puts the boulders into the aquarium. And he says to the class, is this aquarium full? Obviously, it wasn't completely full, so most said it's mostly full, but not completely full. Opens up bag number 2. What's in it? Small pebbles. And he pours that into the aquarium. And of course it fills all the empty spaces that the boulders did not fill. And till the top, is it full now? Some say yes, some say no. Sack number 3, fine gravel, fine sand. And pours that in. Of course, that fills all the nooks and crevices and all the fine little places that the sand can fill in, that the rocks, the pebbles would not fill, and sure not the boulders. Is it full now? And most said yes, but they saw another bag. He opens up bag number 4. Bag number 4 is pitchers of water. And he pours water into the aquarium until it spills over. And then he asks the class, tell me now, is it full? Yes. What do we learn from this? Because the water, of course, is even finer than the sand, so it's completely covered up, submerged everything, and the whole aquarium was full. What do we learn from this, he says to the class? So the smart ones say, they know it's a time management class, that as much as you fill your day with, in your time planning, you could always add something more. He says, no, the lesson is that if you don't get the boulders in first, you'll never get them in. The boulders are the first priorities. You start with the water, and then the sand, and then the pebbles, and then the boulders, you'll never get them in. Where are they going to go? The water, yeah, you can fit them in. But the sand and the pebbles, you'll never get them in. The thing will be full already. That is a description of most of our lives. It's filled with water, it's filled with sand, gravel, fine sand. It's filled with pebbles. The boulders, the foundations, the priorities of what is the purpose of the water and the gravel and the pebbles. We can have a very sophisticated tool chest. You could have every tool on earth. What are you going to use the tool? Are you going to build a house? Are you going to screw? Are you going to screw in screws so you can hang up paintings? What are you going to use this tool chest for? There's so many different options. So the first thing is your calling. You find your calling, and the question what to do with your life will melt away. Because what to do with your life is to fulfill that calling. Instead, we grow into childhood. We go through childhood, adolescence, our teenage years, and that question has never been told to us. That question has never been asked us. We've never compelled to answer it. Now, some of us may come to that question at some point, and we may get some answer, but usually not. And by the time we start asking, as I said before, you already have your water and your pebble and your sand and your pebbles. And it's very difficult at that point. We'll discuss that some more soon. But that's the first most important thing. The first most important thing is to figure out what is your calling. And it should fit you. It's not my calling, it's not someone else's. It's you, and you alone can accomplish that. Someone has musical talent. Not everybody has. There's no question that's part of your calling. There's no question that you have to use that talent in some way in this direction. Does that mean that's your primary job? That's another question. Many people, as we know, statistics show, don't even do jobs that they really like. Some learn to like it because why not? It's a necessary thing, so you learn to like it. Many continue not to like it. And it's the rare breed that actually does a job, that has work, that says, I love what I do, because what I do reflects who I am, and what I am is reflected in what I do. It's not the case for most people. As I always point out, someone asks you, what do you do? I'm sorry, who are you? They give you their business cards. That's what you do. That's not who you are. What do you do with your life should not be what you're doing. It should be driven by who you are. So you'll say, well, I don't really know who I am. So maybe it's time to find out. So as I said, from a children's point of view, it's frankly a lot easier. But adults have to focus on this. If you're not going to focus, then the children will be exactly what we are as adults and be in the same situation. Now, the interesting thing, a few years ago, I remember it was before the new year, and I suggested that some parents had asked me to make a suggestion. So I said, in addition to saying I love you to your child every morning and every evening, also say to them, I want to thank God for sending me a special soul like you, because you have a unique contribution to make that's indispensable. And I feel honored to help you achieve and actualize that. And whatever comes in life, remember, I'm always there behind you. You have something unique to contribute. You say this every morning and every evening to your children from young age, guaranteed they'll begin asking questions. It'll be on their minds. And so actually a woman told me that she began doing it. And after a few months, her children started talking about it more. What does that mean, a purpose? And it became conversation at the dinner table, became conversations when they traveled. They started talking to friends, and it became a topic. And people, that's the beginning of it all. It starts, you have to ask the right question. You may not have an answer immediately, but the first step is to ask the right question. You don't have the right question, you're not going to go anywhere. Question of a wise person is half an answer. So that's the first step. Discussion, make awareness. Because there's so many distractions, so many things that keep us busy that we easily can lose sight of this purpose. So it's critical at the youngest of age. Now, what about the rest of us? We're already in my life. I'm working. What do you want me to do? Just take off, go travel for a year and try to find my purpose? If you can do that, maybe it's not a bad idea to take off, but take off with a meaningful purpose, not just to take off to relax, but take off to really find yourself. But I will say the interesting thing is that, remember, as the mystics explain it, that we were sent to this earth. It would be very nice if we came out of our mother's womb with a little box that said, your mission is, but that's not what happened. So part of the mission is to find the mission. That's a certain element. It's challenging, but it's also exhilarating. And how do you find your mission? You have to focus on what? Not on your body, but on your soul. We all know when we wake up in the morning, our body's hungry, thirsty, needs to be groomed, needs to be washed, needs to be exercised. That part is easy. What does your soul need? What is that spirit inside of you, that personality inside of you that is not quite as tangible and is not nourished by food and water. What is that element in us? So the first step, my friends, join a class, a weekly class, where soul is talked about, where your soul is discussed. Second thing, find a book that talks about it. That's the first place. You need to make yourself aware of who you are. It's not going to happen in a 5-minute class. It's not going to be with taking a magic pill. It's awareness. Awareness leads to connection. Without awareness, you will not have any connection to it. How many talents we may carry right now inside of us, we may not have a clue of. Only when something stimulates it. It could be an accident, if there's such a thing. It could be a deliberate. It could be a class, and suddenly something resonates. So you have to expose yourself to spiritual environments, to spiritual stimulation. When I say spiritual does not mean religious. Spiritual means things that touch your soul. It can be music. It can be words. It can be writings. But they have to resonate with you where you say, this thing speaks to me. Because what happens then is you begin to exercise and stimulate and to exercise your spiritual muscles. And just like the body has a complex system and systems, and each part has to be nourished by different vitamins and minerals and nutrients and so on, the same thing is with the soul. We've talked about this a number of times, for example, in the weeks of the Omer counting, the 7 emotions that comprise our spectrum of our emotional life, from chesed, from love, discipline, compassion, determination or ambition, humility, bonding, dignity. These are 7 components inside of you. No, they're not 7 localized like, here's your heart, here's your liver, here's your mind, here are your arms. That's physical. But they are clearly components of your soul. By feeding them, by becoming aware of them, I should begin with, then feeding them and nourishing them, that's how you begin to exercise your spiritual muscles. That's the domain of purpose. That's the domain of what drives you. Does your body follow your soul, or does your soul follow your body? You tell me which way it should be working. Does the captain follow the ship, or does the ship follow the captain? Now the mystics write, and Tanya elaborates, the mind acts to be the seat of the soul, of the divine soul, because the mind is reflective and is able to somewhat separate itself from the subjective whims and the self-interest that so much distracts us and keeps us busy with instant gratification or whatever it is that stimulates our senses. The mind has the capacity to dream, to imagine, to travel to places that we are not emotionally there yet. Emotionally, you may be involved in survival. The mind can say, let's do a little transcendence. So the mind is an excellent, a vehicle to lead us toward soul. The mind means a focus. You need to read something. You need to study something. So the more you become aware of your soul's existence, that ticking inside of you, the more likely you begin to discover and figure out what is the purpose of this soul. As I said before, that will come together with all knowing yourself and your personality, opportunities, people and places, and passion. So the question, what to do with your life? What to do with your life is first figure out what your life is. And ask the right question. You ask the right questions, then the rest will follow. When you will, for example, let's say it's a person, says, I love music. You suddenly look in the newspaper, you see an advertisement for a rock concert. Immediately go buy tickets. What has happened? You know that music you love that particular band or singer and performer, and you don't need to think twice. You know it's going to be an interesting and stimulating evening. It's relevant to you. So their awareness was there. You know you already like music from your past experiences. So now, what did you do? You figured out what to do. What to do with my life that night is taken because I'm going to this concert. God forbid, let's say something happens to a family member and you have to cancel. You may cancel because you need to be there for somebody who's gone to the hospital, for example. I'm just using examples. God forbid, no one should have that just to make my point. So in other words, it's what drives what you do. It drives where your interest is. Now, if you have no interests, or your interests are completely driven by whims or whatever anyone's advertising or marketing to you, there you have the answer. You're traveling on a road and say, well, should I go here, or there? So someone will say, that looks interesting. Okay, you're on your way. You come back, was disappointed. You go to another road. Imagine if it was the other way around. You don't go on any roads. First figure out, where do you want to be? Where do I want my life to be? Where do I fulfill my calling and purpose? Then what road will take me there? What roads will take me there? Talk to someone who's on that journey. Just like you would do if you're for a business or in any personal matters, you go to people who are experienced, people who are veterans, that's what you do. You incubate in their environment. It's the same thing. It's not that complicated. The only thing is we're not used to it. No one's ever told us this is what we're supposed to do. So both whether we're young and just beginning our journey, or that we're already in the middle of our journey, we have this capacity. So no one says you have to go cold turkey and drop everything you're doing, but you must introduce soul into your life through a class, through a book, and so on. This is a plug perhaps, but it also happens to be true. My book, Toward a Meaningful Life, has served that role, thank God, for many people. So if you haven't read Toward a Meaningful Life, try that. It's a very good opening in this direction because it makes you think soulfully about your life, every aspect. The book is structured by chapters. I ask people, what's the things that are most relevant in your life? Everyone, no matter man, woman, no matter what age, no matter what religion or no religion, all come to the same thing, 30 main items. Not all are focused, everyone has that immediate interest, but the items are personal, obviously, things like body and soul, birth, childhood, education, love, marriage, intimacy, finance, money, wealth, health, pain and suffering, fear and anxiety, how to live our daily lives. So I made a chapter for each one of these items. But not just a chapter talking about it, but a chapter how to introduce a spiritual, meaningful dimension to it. Then the second section is social things, responsibility, government, women and men, technology, our generation and its challenges. And then a third section on theological matters, God, faith, unity, miracles, good and evil, redemption. So these, I made a chapter for each one of them, and they're very accessible. It's an excellent book. I would recommend it as a good beginning because it gets your spirit to think spiritually about the things that matter to you. We're not talking about going into areas that you have no interest in. It's things that you're interested in, but finding the dimension that you have not yet been exposed to or not fully been exposed to. That's what it's about. It's not good to go to places that are completely, you say, listen, I have no interest in going there. You have to find something you already have interest in, and then say, hey, wow, I never heard of that dimension. Let's take music an example. Music, we all know music, we love music. It touches us, it moves us, we dance to it, we sing to it. It can transport us to another time and place. It can make us laugh, it can make us cry. Remember our first love. We remember our pain. We relieve pain. Some people sing to forget, some people sing to remember, etc. But then you suddenly discover that music is the language of the soul. I've just talked about this many times. I call it soul transportation. It helps your soul travel from one place to another. Bodies travel with feet, with legs, with vehicles. How does a soul travel? Only one way, a song. You suddenly realize a song has much more to it than just a nice song that can touch you and transport you. So same with everything in life. You eat and drink. Is there any deeper meaning to eating and drinking? Of course I have to eat because I'm hungry. My body, if I don't eat, I won't be well. But then you suddenly discover there's a spiritual significance in eating. When you eat, you redeem sparks. You're somewhat refining the food. The strength you get from it can help you do greater things. So suddenly, a regular, seemingly pedestrian meal can turn into a spiritual experience. And then you're not eating because you have to. That's what you want to do because that's what you're doing with your life now because it's fulfilling the purpose of your life. And the same thing throughout the day. And you can discover even in your work, and even seemingly in leisure and recreation and a vacation, you find a deeper meaning, the purpose, and you say, you know what, I can fulfill my soul's purpose through that. Then the thing that is no longer just a circumstantial thing, it becomes part of what you should be doing with your life. Because then the pebbles, the water, the gravel and the pebbles are following the boulders. The purpose, the hub, is directing the spokes rather than the other way around. So by finding that, it doesn't change everything you're doing, it infuses it. And then yes, you may reject certain things and say, you know what, that's not part of what I need to be doing in my life. It's not part of my purpose. Then there's some other things you may introduce. But you'll find most fascinating is the things you're already doing, you won't even stop. You'll just now be infused with a deeper dimension. And then you go about it with much more enthusiasm. I remember years ago, a businessman in New York, and he contacted me at some point. Actually, there was CBS was doing an interview with me about, and then they were also doing about the book Toward a Meaningful Life, and they were doing interviews with others as well who were touched by the book. So they met this individual, and that's how we met. And he told me, he says he was our cutthroat businessman. And his office was known to be a place of negotiation and argument and all that. Ethical, but tough. He said, someone gave him a copy of my book. In the book it says, to infuse your business, your work, with something a little more ethereal, you should have a charity box on your desk, in your office. She says, I always reserve my spiritual life, my religious life, it wasn't religious particularly, to my office, to my home rather. My office was too compartmentalized. So I decided to put a charity box on my desk. Some of the meetings, I decided, you know what, why don't we give charity before we start the meeting? Then when we ended the meeting, it became suddenly introduced a meeting that was completely about business interests and mutual interests and give and take, suddenly had another dimension. Then he said, I started ordering your book. I had a few cases and I would give out that book at the end of my meetings. And this individual says, I didn't change my business tactics, but it added a soul to it. Everything became more pleasant. Everything became more trusting. He says, you can't imagine how it changed the environment. So till now, my business was my business, and my purpose in life was my family and children. Now suddenly my business became part of my purpose. Because I realized, even though we're doing business, but maybe the whole business is an opportunity for two people to meet and share something, be giving, being charitable, being kind, sharing something spiritual. So you see, it's not about changing your life. It's about rather adding a dimension to it that transforms it, the same life, into something of a different, higher purpose and level. And then the question, what to do with your life, is very, very different. So suddenly in the middle of nowhere, what to do with my life? Okay, you know what? Why don't you have a cookie? Why don't you go to the park? Why don't you go watch a game? Why don't you go do something recreational? Go to the gym, read a book. That's usually the approach. And some of that is very interesting and actually very helpful, makes you grow and all that. But imagine it goes the other way around. You wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, okay, how am I going to fulfill my mission today? This leg of the journey of my life for today, how am I using my skills? Then you come up with a proactive plan. You initiate, not just what comes your way. Does it include reading a book? By all means. Does it include taking a walk? By all means. And then what happens is, from inside out, your actions are following your purpose, rather than your purpose following your actions, or not even following because they're not even there. Your actions are taking control of your life. So we all have this capacity to achieve this. This is something that we're all capable of doing, and it's not something that we have to work very hard if you just focus. The problem, my friends, is going to be habit. We are habitual creatures, and our habits don't leave room for this. It's like trying to teach someone to brush their teeth after they've never brushed their teeth for years and years. It's very hard. It takes time till you get used to it. That's the difficulty, the inertia of our lives, the status quo. But the reward is well worth it. They say you need to do something 18 times, chai, for it to start becoming a new habit. Probably more, in my opinion. So my suggestion is, every morning, as I always say, start with this one-line prayer called Moda'ani. I acknowledge to you, and you don't even say to whom, it's to higher purpose, divine, whatever word you want to use, for returning my soul to me. It's the first step. It's basically stating that you have a soul, and you have a purpose, and your purpose has been renewed today. Try it out. Say it in your own words. It doesn't have to be in any particular language, in your own words, but it should be heartfelt. In just a minute. Nobody I know has a business meeting as soon as they wake up. So as soon as you wake up, that's the first thing you should say. You'll be surprised that if you say it with a proper intention, and you say it with focus, it'll begin to work its way. Because you're basically saying to your soul, I know you're there. I recognize you. I'm aware of you. That gives the soul courage and energy to respond to you, and in a sense give you certain impetus and motivation to do something. And then you begin to spread, that begins to spread that point of the morning through the day. Different signposts. Take time each day and start finding something you can do by lunchtime or during work, an extra measure of kindness and effort. Be deliberate about it. Be very specific about it. And then before you go to sleep, there's that one line as well, prayer, or however you want to call it, a line, where you say, I return my soul to you for your safekeeping. And you go to sleep in that peaceful way, not with the television on, not with a newspaper on your nose, but thinking about your purpose, thinking about your soul. When you punctuate your day with these two bookends, in the morning, thank you for returning my soul. In the evening, please take care of my soul. And as the Medrash says, the sages say, that the soul goes and during sleep, it's like gets refreshed in the wellsprings, spiritual wellsprings. Then your sleep is more peaceful, and the rest of your day will be different. So the key is to recalibrate, I would say, realign your life to be purpose-driven. To start with purpose, with mission, with meaning, and that drives everything else. And you don't have to think in extremes. This doesn't have to change everything in a minute. With younger people, as I said, we have to start infusing that message into our children as young as possible. Far easier to bring up a healthy child than to fix a broken adult, as Frederick Douglass wrote. And for adults, we have to find ways to do it by focusing and determining once a week, an hour, half hour, but consistent. Not cramming it, consistent, week after week after week. You'll be surprised with the results. This is the way we find that type of what we should be doing with our lives. Try it out. And I'd love to hear your feedback. Because I'm developing, right now we're working on developing a Discover Your Personal Mission course, which we'll soon announce. But of course it's about really implementing it to tell us what should I do with my life. So whatever it is, whoever asks that question, the question is a great question. And that itself should be a catalyst for discussion, a catalyst for finding an answer. And the answer comes, what to do with your life. Talk about your life, the purpose of your life, what you wanted to achieve, what you wanted to accomplish. Ask the right questions and the answers begin to come. So with that, let me sum up and say, I want to bless everyone, that let you know as well that I and Meaningful Life Center are there for you. That's the name of our organization, Meaningful Life Center. And my blessing is that you should have the strength, you should have the fortitude to forge ahead. And there will be setbacks at times, but remember, setbacks are also part of the purpose. That's what's so fascinating about it. Because even the setbacks also are part of the setback to teach you something, maybe to pause and reflect. Maybe you're going too fast. Maybe it's a time to stock up, to review. Everything becomes part of the meaningful life, the purpose-driven life, the life that is driven by the core of who we are, that defines what we do. Not what we do defines of who we are. So please write to us, meaningfullife.com, subscribe, like us on the Facebook, or we're on YouTube and Facebook, and we are in the process of developing and producing many more meaningful resources for to help you, to help all of us live the most meaningful life, to live the life that you can be proud of, a life that you can feel I'm really living up to who I am. Imagine the peace of mind knowing every day I am doing what I should be doing, and not what someone else should be doing, or I don't even know what I'm doing, and then just at some point you come and say, why am I doing all of this? A life of meaning. So this has been Simon Jacobson. Class has been online. I usually do Wednesday class live and online. This one is only online. And I hope to hear good news from all of you. May I hope these words do justice and give you the right tools and some of the beginning of the right tools to go on that journey. It should be a glorious journey, a majestic journey. And it's an honor to be part of your journey. And hopefully we all can complement each other and give and take from each other in this journey as we do live meaningful lives, the most meaningful lives, and do what we have to be doing in this world and in this universe on our unique journey. Thank you very much, and everyone be well. Until next Wednesday, this has been Simon Jacobson on what we call Wednesday Night Live. Be well. Bye-bye.